All right, we are here with podcast number 12 on the Strength and Philosophy Cast, brought to you by Athlete Performance Solutions. You might know them as Nike Weightlifting. They send us some sweet shoes. And also by Killcliff. You can check out our man Austin Cahoy, who is a Killcliff rep, and he's representing Team Viking as they look to win the CrossFit Games coming up in 2 weeks.
Did you show up
first week of August?
Did you show up the other side of your Metcon?
I did. The other side says enjoy the pain. So good luck to Austin and Team Viking, as I like to call them. That's not really their team name, as they look to take down the Fighting Rich Fronings. We today are going to talk about business, and this is something that we get asked about probably more than anything. I don't know if I like that or don't like that. Sometimes I'd rather just get asked about coaching.
I generally like the...
You cut me off.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I'm taking turns of cutting you off now. This is, like, I generally enjoy the, hey, how do you make a living doing that?
Yeah. So, and that has been...
to feed your family?
That has been the question. So, we have like a pretty large weightlifting club, and people say that on Instagram. It's a local business, it's a small business, and it is profitable. We do make money. We do probably, we all have places to live. Some of us have kids. All of us have lady friends, and it seems to be like this fascination of, oh my God, how do you wear sweatpants for a living and pay the bills? And it is definitely something that I think a lot of people overlook. And let's just dive right into it. So I'll start with a little bit of the backstory here. First of all, I'm 34 years old, and I have been in the health and fitness industry since I was about 16 or 17. And I start that with my time working at the front desk at the Sports Center. Which was home to some juice heads, basketball courts, and some other stuff. So I've had a lot of time in the industry in various roles. But most recently, I left the Purdue University's and the Power 5 Conference's strength and conditioning position and decided to start my own gym. And Lift Lab is not my first gym. It's actually the third gym that I've owned, okay? When I was in graduate school, PhD school, I remember having a conversation with you. Dan was actually one of my students. At that point, he was no longer a student, and you were actually...
I was a peer.
You were a graduate assistant at this point,
I was a peer.
And I remember sitting in my luxurious office. It was a shitty, rusty room, basically a broom closet. It had a window that looked out across the street to the Neil Armstrong Hall of Engineering, which had a huge bronze statue of Neil Armstrong.
Really cool view.
Amazing
really cool
view.
Office.
And it just made me think, like, looking at this statue of Neil Armstrong, like, I gotta be able to do more than this, right? And so I told you, I am going to burn my fucking boat. I said it just like that.
Which has a backstory.
Yes. And so I was my PhD was in sport pedagogy. Okay, it was a very, very odd PhD, like most.
Means the study of foot.
Yeah, not quite. But I was looking at the cross-cultural comparison between Eastern European countries, Asia, and the U.S. during their prevalence in Olympic weightlifting, like kind of what was going on philosophically and culturally. So at the time, I was reading so much shit. And I came across a story one day as a mental break. And it was basically talking about like kind of the Viking warrior code, where they would go to islands or lands, and as soon as they unloaded the boats and got off the boats, they would burn those motherfuckers, so there was no going back. So the one way to go through was to fight on.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about burning ships, no other options, you gotta go. And I told DG, I said, I'm about to burn my boat. I'm gonna go pull out of this, drop out, have no money. I had a 1-year-old, terrible time to start a business, a new wife, and I was like, fuck it, I want to do something different in my life. So I jumped in with both feet, as you would say, and I started out of the corner of this gym in Indianapolis, basically just renting space, coaching. I shit you not, probably 10 total weightlifters,
maybe,
and 2 professional baseball players, and that was the start. And then I went from there. I opened up the first gym, and that gym actually required me to raise some capital, get some funding, and kind of debt finance it. I had a different partner with that gym, and unfortunately, like most businesses, I shouldn't say most, like a lot of businesses, my partner and I really didn't understand our relationship from a business standpoint before we got into the business. So it was basically like two coaches that were tacticians. We're just going to open up a gym to be tacticians, right? So we're just going to open up a gym, and we're going to coach, and we're going to provide the best coaching ever, and we'll all be millionaires. And about 3 months into that, I realized being an entrepreneur in a service-based fitness industry where you're coaching people, okay, so we're not just providing the keys for somebody to exercise in a facility, but where every single session is coached and taught by a coach. I quickly learned that there was so much more to it than coaching. In fact, the coaching aspect of it became a much smaller part of the business, a much smaller percentage of what's actually done during the day. And so with that, my partner and I quickly grew to resent each other. And it wasn't a good scenario. It wasn't a good situation in terms of the friendship was a casualty of the business, right? However, fortunately for me, I met the co-founder of Lift Lab through that process. I actually met him as I was transitioning out of my other gym, and I was out raising money again. And so people ask all the time, well, how in the hell did you raise money? How much did you raise? Like, these are pretty common questions that I get with people that stop by the gym. And each time it's been a little bit different. And I was very fortunate when I left Purdue and started coaching out of the corner of another gym. I met a guy, still a good friend of mine. I call him JC for short. Those are his initials. It's not Jesus Christ.
I'm like, he might as well be.
And JC was like, he still is a very important person in my life. I talked to him less just as time's moved on, but I mean, how I talked to him last week. And I'm always like bouncing ideas off of him. And in the very beginning, he was like, look, at the time I think it was 27 or 28, and he was like, you are so young, you're going to get through this. It's a hard time, right? I had no money, no idea really what I was going to do. I was making like probably in the vicinity of $500 a month with a wife and a kid. We were living at my parents' house, right? With a newborn.
Yeah, I think you moved back and forth a couple.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a very vagabond lifestyle with a wife and a kid, and it's just like not glamorous at all. But I had this vision, this idea that I was going to do this thing, and I was going to make it work, and I was going to just kind of push through. And so I met JC, and I told him, I said, I need $70,000 to open a gym. And he was like, you need $70,000 and you can have everything you ever wanted in life. And I was like, yes. He was like, okay, show me your business plan. I was like, well, I don't have a business plan. And he was like, okay, let's start there.
Well, you're going to need that.
And so we started in a process, and he was like, Dan, I 100% believe in you. You're going to be successful. Like, I remember him telling me this at a Bob Evans, okay? And
where else would it get that?
right. And JC was a very, I should know that he's a very successful real estate broker.
Right.
Lots of money, very, very well off. And he said, I could give you a check this afternoon for $70,000. And he was like, and I want to because I like you, but I'm not going to. And I was like, devastated. I was like, I don't know if my wife is going to stay with me much longer. My kid can barely eat. And he said, he was like, the reason I'm not going to give you the money is that's not going to be the best thing for you for the long term. He's like, it's really only going to help you in the short term. So him being the guy that he was, he said, I'm going to help you get your business plan together, figure out how much money you actually need, and then go from there. And so when I started working through the process, I realized that if I wanted to start my business, grow it in the way that I wanted to, I was going to need somewhere in the vicinity of $200,000, $250,000. And that was kind of like starting a business. It was going to be debt financed. We were also going to be able to live on my wife and I, we're going to be able to live on our own, pay our own bills, not live lifestyles of the rich and famous or anything like that. But there was let's say $30,000 of that was earmarked for essentially my salary, right? So the rest of the money was 100% going into the business. And what JC did was he set me up with the opportunity to pitch my idea. So he said, look, he didn't say it like this, but he was like, look, I'm filthy fucking rich. I know all these people that are filthy fucking rich, and I'll let you talk to some people that are filthy fucking rich, and then see if you can persuade one of them to give you some money, right? And none of them did.
It's like a real life Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. But
They
he
don't
was
say
like,
no.
look, you need to practice like pitching, and you need to walk through your business. Like you need to show people where you're going to lose money. Like you need to because one of the big mistakes you make when you're first starting out and you're like trying to build a gym or find something is you put together this business plan and you only see the positives, right? You don't see anything where you could lose money,
Right.
where you're going to you only see pluses, no negatives.
You really think that you open the doors and
Correct.
they're just gonna show up.
Mistake number one: I'll open the doors and make money. Does not happen.
That's not no.
And his point was, he was like, look, Dan, he's like, the negatives and the losses are they're not losses, right? He's like, they're a normal part of ebbs and flows of businesses, ups and downs, and you better learn how to deal with that shit because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a very, your quintessential rags to riches story. When I say, rags to riches, I don't mean that it happened in the blink of an eye. I mean, he built a company over, it took him 35 years to build it, and he didn't really become rich until years 30 through 35. Right. So it was like he spent 29 years grinding it until he got to where he needed to be. So I had that opportunity, and then ultimately I honed in the pitch. I got really close with a couple people. They gave me some feedback that was really good. And once I was able to figure out where the shortfalls in my business were, where I was going to lose money, where I needed money, I was able to successfully procure money. And so that started my first physical space and physical location. And the other thing when you're looking at capital is it's pretty popular now with the Facebook movie, mm-hmm. Uber, right. What like the Airbnb, whoever it is that's gotten really rich really fucking quick. It's a lot of the younger people and even some of the older people that are starting businesses now think that that's how it happens. You wear a hoodie, you show up, you ask for money, you click on the mouse a few times, and then you just get it.
Right. And pitch your idea and they fund your idea.
Yeah, and it's like if you don't, you can raise $2 million tomorrow. Okay, well, I was trying to raise money in a terrible time. It was 2010. We were 2 years after the financial crisis, right? So we weren't even really back up yet. So I was going out and trying to get money for people that had they had already made a bunch of money. B, they had already lost a bunch of money in the stock market, and they were figuring out what they were going to do next. So it wasn't a real hot time to ask for money. And the first gym that I tried to fund, not a single person that I pitched was a traditional VC or a venture capitalist is what that means. Somebody that just looks for businesses to invest in. So I was just pitching people that somebody told me hey, they've got disposable money, it's something they might be interested in, they like the idea, they like you, whatever. And the first chunk of money that I got was not even a traditional, it was essentially a high interest rate loan was what it was. It wasn't even an equity partnership. So that took us into the first physical space. Like I said, that lasted about 2 years where I had partner problems and had to get out, okay? And that's going to take me to meeting my co-founder. And I think that this is, and Dan German is not the co-founder, by the way, which people think all the time.
When people call me Dan number one, and they don't meet you until X visit that they're in, right? Then they're like, oh, so you own the place, right? I'm like, well, feels like I do.
I get asked all the time if I work here. I mean, I'm just gonna put it that way, which is a good thing. It's not. Yeah, it's that's not a bad thing at all, and we're gonna get to that part in the team building aspect of it. But the partner that I have now, the co-founder of LiftLab, he is always behind the scenes. sometimes he's behind the scenes more than we would like because we actually do like the little guy.
He's like
He's-
the Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah,
you don't see him until the final chapter.
He's
You
a
can
fun
get that
dude.
reference.
No, you got to read books. He's a fun guy. I like him a lot. He used to train here all the time. Then he had a kid. He's since built a gym in his basement and has trained there predominantly. But he and I do still talk quite a bit, and we're working on a couple projects. Teaser. That are going to be coming out in the next year or so.
It's going to be a Death Star.
It's going to be a Death Star.
Pretty much it.
So anyway, how I met him was he is also in real estate as one of his businesses, but he's really an entrepreneur. He invests quite a bit. And when I was having partner problems, let me back up. I gotta get this right. My time brain here.
Do you need a break?
No.
All right, okay.
Okay, we're back. At the time, I was working a consulting side hustle job for a guy. Okay, and he introduced me to a VC. Okay, so I'm splitting from my first partner, and now I need to raise money for what ultimately would become LiftLab. And this guy introduced me to a VC, which is more of a traditional, what you think of now, way of non-bank funding. All right, so VCs are guys that are always looking to make money. They're investing in companies to get paid, right? They're not. I mean, there's some goodwill shit out there, but at the end of the day,
they're looking for a return.
We're making money, okay? And so the first guy that I pitched for the second space was it's Spring Mill VC. I will never forget it. The dude was a Harvard MBA. He went to the Naval Academy, served our country. Dude was super legit. Spring Mill VC, you can check it out. And I met this guy in a Panera, and he was worth God knows how many, like billions of dollars. He had done some great stuff in biotech. And he was like, okay, you got 20 minutes. Let me hear it. And it was like, okay. And it was just like, it was like we shook hands and go. Okay. And he was like, I want to know everything about your business, everything you messed up. And I basically told him all the problems I had before. I said, so hey, I raised this money. Then I started this business with my partner. Then I learned about all this stuff that I messed up. Mm-hmm. And I showed him like the math and the numbers on it. I said, this is where it could have been better. And he got, at the end of that meeting, he was like, okay, here's the deal. You have all your shit squared away. And he was like, you know the numbers, you know what you got to do, you know why you weren't as successful as you could have been, and you have a clear vision of where you're going, you have tons of experience. My problem here is you're just not asking for enough money. Okay, and that was it. I mean, and you get it, like it's on the scale. He's like, it wouldn't have been worth his time to get a return on such and such investment. So I was like, okay, so this guy, if you're in the billionaire stratosphere, maybe that's not a guy that's going to work for me. And so in this process, my brother-in-law, in this process of trying to sell my business, probably the most stressful time I've ever had in my life, my brother-in-law
I remember this.
gets stage 4 cancer.
There we go.
And I like my brother-in-law, unlike a lot of you out there who have brothers-in-laws that you hate. I really like my brother-in-law, and he got stage 4 cancer. For those of you that are curious, there is no stage 5, okay? And he had a real rare form of cancer. And him and my sister, they were living in Florida, and this all, as you would expect, ruined them financially. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the co-founder of LiftLab, he still has a charity. And I didn't know much about my co-founder, my partner, at all, really. I just knew him from like coaching him and like that was about it. And I knew that he worked with his charity. At the time, I didn't even know it was his charity. I didn't even know he had money. He drove a pickup truck, right? He did not wear, I don't know, a sign that said, I've got tons of fucking money, right? Whatever. So, how would I know? And so, but I said, hey, I need to talk to you about my brother-in-law. He's got this cancer. I know your charity does things with people with cancer. I'd really like to get my brother-in-law some help. Can we meet? And he was like, yeah. So we meet a real fancy place called BW3's. They serve chicken wings and beer.
No bones.
No bones. So if you're, you got to have something there for one minute.
Right.
Anyway, we sit down. We've offended half our audience now, which is great, Mom.
Those are going to be like the best comments. They'll be like, "You really hate the boneless wings?"
Yeah, right. I do. I think boneless wings are for 6-year-olds, right? They can't figure it out.
They're basically like chicken nuggets.
So anyway, we meet at this BW3's. We go through this stuff for my brother-in-law, and he's like, "Yeah, we can help him out." And he was like, "Hey, what the hell is going on with you and your partner?" And I was like, and at the time, I didn't want anybody to know. I was like trying to get money, keep it real quiet. Didn't want anybody to know that there was trouble in paradise. And I basically just lied to him. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." And he was like, "I'm not buying that shit. I've been around businesses for a long time. I know something's up." He's like, "You guys don't look at each other. You don't talk to each other. Like, he walks to your side of the room, you walk away. You walk to his side of the room, he walks away. Like, what's up?"
People know.
People know, right? And so I said, "All right, man, here's the deal. I'm currently trying to raise money. I'm either going to buy him out or move on." And I'm like, at the time, it was still up in the air. And he was like, "Well, I'd really like to see," and he was into training, like, so he got it. He understood what we were trying to do. And he said, "Well, I'd really like to see the numbers on it. And just something I might be interested in." And I was just like, "Yeah, okay, pickup truck guy,
Right.
Get on out of here. Daddy needs real money," right? So I had no idea. And now, like, looking back, I know my partner now is, he definitely was not a swanky, flashy guy. He has done really well for himself, which is something that I actually really admire. If he's probably listening to this, he's probably going to text me and talk shit about me admiring him. He'll make some inappropriate jokes, I'm sure.
You're just sitting there eating your boneless wings,
Exactly.
staring at them awkwardly.
And so anyway, he said, let's get together on it. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And at the time, I had pitched one other guy, and the other guy had actually said yes, and he made me an offer. And so I knew that I was going to have money. Okay, and so the guy made me an offer. It was like laid out in an email. I hadn't responded yet. I texted the co-founder, "Hey, can we meet tomorrow?" It was like, this is like maybe like 2 days later or something like that. It wasn't the next day, but he's like, "Yeah, meet me at this McDonald's." And I was like,
Fancy.
"Oh, okay." I mean, the Spring Mill VC guy wanted to meet at Panera, right? So
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So I met at McDonald's. I pulled out the spreadsheets. It was in paper copy. I said, "Here it is." I laid everything out for him, and he was like, "Okay, let's do it." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Oh, here's what I propose. I think this is fair." And it was actually a worse deal for me personally than what I had already been offered, but I had such a better gut feeling, and that was important to me coming off a bad partnership. And so I took the worst deal, or the deal that wasn't as financially viable, because I felt like the partnership was right.
Right.
And I felt like he would give me the things that I needed. And at the time, I knew that I didn't know nearly enough about business and trying to like ramp up a business.
Right. And that's probably like a big thing just to like put out there. It's like the gut feeling of it, right? Like, you gotta
huge.
trust your gut. Like at the end of it,
Huge.
Like, all those numbers are great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I mean, like just from like moving, like on to each level,
Yep.
right? Like moving up,
Yep.
like, you gotta trust your gut. And if you don't, then you just gotta say no.
Absolutely. And basically the relationship with the co-founder was, he was like, "Look, you know this industry like the back of your hand. You've been doing this shit since you were 17. You've worked every shit job in the industry. You've folded towels at the co-rec. You've seen people, take a dump in the gym trash can at Gold's Gym. Like, you've seen it all. Like, you are hardened, right? And coached at the highest level." So he was like, "I don't need to tell you how to do any of that shit." He was like, "You are smart. You'll figure that out. What I want to talk about is how we're going to brand it, how we're going to market it, how we're going to grow it." And I was like, those are the conversations I need to have. So we handshook deal, and that was about it. Like, he said, "Okay, we'll find a place." He's well connected in the real estate biz.
Yep.
Turns out he owns Indianapolis, but he's like, "Hey, I got a spot. You can move right into it. We'll get some money. We'll get it going, and we'll start in this real small spot, and then we'll just we'll grow into something bigger." So I actually keep the picture on my desk of what Lift Lab started as, and everybody comes here, they're always like, man, this is a gorgeous facility, it's so big, da 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 da. I'm like, well, at one point it was 800 square feet. We could only fit five platforms and nothing else in it.
200 square feet was a couch and bags.
Yeah, exactly. And so we would open the doors, move the squat racks outside, and the day's training could begin.
Right.
So, and at night, we would stack the squat racks and the sleds and the med balls back onto the platforms, pull the door down, done. Okay, so like, but it was
pop-up training.
You know, it was a really great thing because we learned a lot. But in the midst, and this is how kind of we'll start getting into like the nuts and bolts of creating a successful business and going from there. But in that process, my partner was like, what do you need? Who do you need? And he was like, fine, you know, how are you going to get a team? And I said, well, there's this guy in Boston.
One guy.
He's weird as shit.
Yep.
Tall, gangly.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually told my partner, you're not going to like him.
Really?
He's the person I need.
Really?
And,
Man.
Well, I think my
makes me feel so much better about everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, turns out he actually, you know, did like you. But,
you know, I feel like like bad first impressions, like maybe like used to be my thing. And it definitely always turned out for the better.
It's like
no matter what.
Well, you got to think the bar's so low, you only exceed the expectation.
Right. And you're like, why is Big Bird here?
So had I hired some like Paige Hathaway stunning fitness model, the introduction would be so high she could never live up to it. She would only fall short of the expectation.
Maybe you did.
Like, and in his mind, I think that's who he thought I was going to hire. Right, which is why. So I called up the old Dan German, who was living in Boston, working at the training room and for TPS or something at the time.
Yeah, there was bouncing around. It was
good, and I basically said, I'm gonna. He wouldn't come work for me at the previous place because he didn't necessarily feel really good about my former partner, and
you know, like definitely moved across the. Like across the country for the girlfriend, now fiance. So you know, like it's one of those rare times when it worked out. Right? But, you know, like I was out there and I think there was about a week's time. I think we were going to sign a lease on a Monday. And like, let's just think about it. You called on a Tuesday and you were like, oh, I need to know by Sunday that you're moving.
Across the country.
Yeah. Like
for this unknown.
For this thing that, you know, let's just say you hyped it up.
I left a lot of details out. By the way, we're moving into 600 square feet, and there's no members, and very humble beginnings.
Right, and you know, there's certain legalities here, and like we're gonna have both spaces open. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And I show up and like the first one's done, but the other one hasn't even started yet.
Which is the space we're in.
Right, which is the lovely, you know, part of the lovely room that we're in right now.
Yeah. It was definitely like but this is like getting into the thing. So when we're running service-based fitness, right? And what we mean by service-based is you're going to take people through every step of the journey, right? So we're not going to be like a Globo gym or maybe even like a powerlifting gym or even a CrossFit, where you can like have open gym and just kind of come in and do what you want. You want to follow Invictus program, follow the Invictus program. Right. You want to bro out, bro out. We're trying to, and not that there's nothing wrong with that stuff. It's just not the model we were trying to do. We're trying to do a model where we're providing you with a high level of service, charging appropriately for that service, and then fulfilling on that service. So you have to start to assemble a team. And this was one of the conversations that the co-founder and I had pretty regularly. He was not probably super thrilled with some of the first choices that I had of employees. Not that he disliked any of them personally. It was just basically getting at this this dynamic that I really didn't understand until about last year. The difference between like a team and a family. Okay, and so one of the things that really got me in trouble early on is I treated everybody like family, okay? And when you treat people like family, you are basically giving them unconditional love so they can do meth and nobody was doing that. But
Nobody
you get
was
the
doing
idea,
meth.
like they can do bad things.
Only the people hanging outside the gym
Right.
are doing meth.
The point is they could do like bad things or inappropriate things and you would forgive them and you'd accept them and yeah, you'd probably talk about it, but there was no real consequences. Well, team has the connotation that you're all working towards a performance outcome. So when you're building a team, like, yeah, you're going to have like personal feelings towards the people you work with all the time, but at the end of the day, you know that you're all working towards a certain outcome, right? So if we're all working towards a certain outcome, we're part of the team, and you're not meeting the expectations, you're off the team.
You're out. It's performance based.
Correct. But if you're part of the family, we have a hard time throwing you out of the family, right? And so I was definitely more, and it sounds kind of fucked up when you say it, but I was more family oriented in the beginning, meaning taking in like our coaches and our staff as family, and then my partner kind of coaching me subtly to the idea that you need to build a team, not a family. And about a year ago, we let legitimately half of our staff, we parted ways, right? Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like the end of that dichotomy of family. And where that gets you in trouble is it spills over into your membership, right? Where all of a sudden the people you're servicing will start to be family. And they'll start to look at you as family. And you know, you're always meanest to the ones you love the most, right? So of all the people in the world that Natalie, my wife, is the one that I give the hardest time because I know no matter what I say to her, she has that unconditional love where she's not going to go anywhere. And vice versa, I want to make it very clear that sometimes she hits me. She does the same to me, where she'll like,
but only when you ask.
No, I wish. She'll take her bad days out on me. I'll take my bad days out on her. We try not to take them out on the kids. So you'll treat those people like a little bit different, and then you'll expect them to accept it, right? And so if that starts happening with your membership, this creates some real problem because then they start feeling entitled to tell you things like, oh, how you should run your business, how you should treat your employees, how you should pay your employees, like just a whole bevy of things that are really none of their business because they're a consumer of your service, right? And so you have to have a team environment that sets a standard for what the level of separation is going to be, okay? And don't confuse team and community, right? Like you don't have to be deeply involved in everybody's personal life at the gym to have a high quality community, right? Like that's a big mistake. I was like, oh, I really love CrossFit for the community. Well, what does that mean? You like home wrecking? You like going out and getting drunk? You like what is it about the community? Because a lot of the times when we start consulting or working with these like the local CrossFits, like they'll bring this up. They're like, well, now basically the inmates are running the asylum and we don't know how to pull it back.
Right, and you're being told what to do.
Exactly. Well, we got to do this now and we got to do this because our members want that. And they're telling us that this is how we should provide service, and now we're doing the Invictus program, and it just snowballs.
And you know, part of it is like if you're in a results based, right? So if you're in a results based program, because that's what you're about, right? And like when it comes to the services that we have, it's like we want people to see a result. And if you have a team, both with the coaches and both with the athletes, like they all want those results.
100%.
And you know, when they don't get those results, they're frustrated. And, you know, our job is to provide a service and provide the pathway for them to receive those results.
Absolutely.
But if you say, you know, like because they're your family now, it's okay, you don't have to do better, blah, blah, blah. Like it's all going to be okay, you know, Johnny, because, you know, like you're doing drugs, but we still love you. Right? This is not the mentality to take forth with that. Like, so if you're trying to hold somebody accountable in that scenario and you consider them your family, you're going to let that slap the most.
For sure.
So just from the day to day, it doesn't provide this pathway to success. And not everybody's going to want that. which is okay. But the people that want to see that result and want to push are going to gravitate toward your service.
Yeah. I mean, and I wrote a blog on this like a week or two ago, like a couple, I don't remember, 3 or 4 steps to becoming a better coach. But one of them was like, the point was stop blurring the line between coach and friend, right? Like if you blur the line between coach and friend and you start going towards that friend side, you start gearing yourself towards lack of production, okay? And this kind of leads us into like the second point that we work with a lot of gyms to correct, okay? And so running a service-based facility, whether it's CrossFit, something like Lift Lab, or even like a personal training studio, there seems to be a tendency, okay, for first of all, the barrier to entry is very low, right? It's very similar to the restaurant industry, right? In the restaurant industry, we know that has like the highest failure rate of almost any entrepreneurial venture.
It's
right?
not great.
And so you're like, you say it in your head, you're like, you know what? I make great fried chicken. All my friends love my fried chicken. I should probably open a restaurant that serves fried chicken and make money. Okay, and then you do that and you realize you know nothing about the restaurant industry and you all of a sudden just waste all your money.
And then people hate your fried chicken.
And your fried chicken sucks. All right, and so then, but in the health and fitness industry, there's some similarities there because people are like, okay, I look great. I got 6-pack abs. I love to work out. My friends love to work out. My friends love to work out with me. I'll start a gym. And therein lies the problem is you didn't work backwards from what it was going to take to provide yourself a living. So you'll see the scenario not necessarily where the gym will go out of business, but where the person that owns it and the employees will not continue to grow in a way that they want to grow financially, right? Like I love everybody, and I want everybody here at the gym to love their experience. I also want to pay the fucking bills. I want my kids to go to college. I want to live in the house.
These lights got
to stay on.
I mean, we could shoot a podcast in the dark.
We could. So what they'll do is they'll start working out as friends, and then when you hang out with your friends and they come over to your house, you don't charge them an entry fee. They just hang out because they're your friends, right? So then you open a gym and all your friends come and work out, and then your friends don't pay you shit, right? And so now the expectation is you can come, I'll put all the money up to open this gym, you guys come work out for free because you're my bros, right? And then on the consumer end, like, I don't know if they're not wise enough or they just like the deal that they're getting or whatever, but they don't realize like, I love training at this place, just can go out of business if I don't pay.
Right, and there are some places that have succeeded on that. Very few though.
100%.
But if that's the expectation you set,
yeah, exactly.
You go right ahead.
And we're not talking about the scenario where we're talking about people that come in and said like, hey, here's what my gym's like. I'm not making any money. I think I need to close this thing down because I'm only making $30,000. I've been at this for 6 years, and I could go like sell wallpaper and make $50,000 and work less hours, right? So we're not talking about the people that have that scenario. It's successful and it's exactly what they want. If you're happy with what you have, by all means,
go right ahead.
Keep fucking doing it.
Yeah,
right.
That's great.
These are like the people that are complaining, and you stop asking them, they're like, oh, well, we've got 200 members, 120 of them pay, right? So it's like, okay, well, we got a problem here. So you got 80 people using your facility that aren't paying a dime. That's a problem. And then it always gets into the scenario, well, how do you work backwards? Because then you're like, you got to have that awkward conversation with your buddy, like, hey, man, I really like you, but
I'm going to get paid.
I'm going to need you to pay because the gym takes money to run, and I need money. And I heard today, this was great. I was listening to like a Mark Smelly Bell on the Slingshot podcast or whatever, and his gym is now free to the public, and he uses it as an ability to sell his Slingshot products. Okay, so it's a marketing expense for him.
And it's a great scenario that works out.
Exactly. But he was like, yeah, it costs me $20,000 a month to have that gym open and free. I'm just betting that I can sell enough slingshots to make it worthwhile, right? And I think that's probably a pretty conservative estimate of what it takes monthly to run a gym, right? To do it well.
Yeah, I mean, to run a premium gym,
absolutely.
Right? So to run a garage gym, right? Or what you would consider a box, right? You talk about barrier to entry, right? Like you're gonna have like, less expensive equipment. You're gonna have all these things, right? Like, I mean, you may not have a bathroom. Like somebody came in here on Saturday for the meet, and they asked us, "Do you have a bathroom?"
We have plumbing,
The answer was yes.
indoor plumbing.
Right. So it was like, why would we not have a bathroom?
Man, my gym doesn't have a bathroom.
Right.
Or it has one bathroom for
Right.
500 people.
Right, and that's
Some silly.
not so. Like to do things at a premium, you're gonna have some premium costs in there, and
Absolutely.
that's just what you have to.
Absolutely.
Like in this backdrop is a premium cost.
It is,
When you
baby.
Look at it.
Look at that.
It looks good.
So, and then along those lines of premium, that's kind of like the first thing we try to get people to wrap their head around. Well, it's the second thing. The first thing is how the hell are you going to get money to start your idea? And there's always obstacles, by the way. The obstacles are never a deterrent. They're just things you need to recognize, right? Like it's not a no. Like I'm working on this at my personal household, trying to not have my wife or my sons use the word can't, right? You can, I can't do it. Now they can say, Dad, I'm limited. This is a 6-year-old, so it's kind of tough, but I'm limited by these obstacles. Here's what I need to overcome, right? Trying to change the vernacular for a popular mindset, but that's exactly how it is. When you're starting a gym, you need to recognize those obstacles and then just address how you're going to overcome them, right? And my favorite thing is thinking about what I have and what I can do versus what I don't have and what I can't do, right? You got to start working on what you can work on now. So identify your obstacles, get a plan, overcome, okay? You got to raise money, then you got to generate money, okay? And then you have to answer the question of, okay, let's assume, well, we'll step back. You're going to open the doors. You've raised your money. You've got your equipment. You're going to open the doors, and we're just walking you through the gym process. And how are people going to know about your gym?
The best answer to that is everybody's always like, oh, word of mouth.
And let me tell you what word of mouth is. I'm going to stare into the camera and say this. Word of mouth is code word for I have no fucking plan whatsoever.
It is.
Got it? It's no plan.
It's just a really easy answer.
Correct. Now, with a grain of salt, there are some businesses that operate on a word of mouth that do just fine. Okay? But word of mouth is going to be a byproduct of quality of service. And we'll get to service in a second. So, assuming that you're like LiftLab opened, the big misnomer is, see, as great as I am,
Speaking humbly,
as great as I am, I was smart enough to know this. When my first gym split, all of those people were not going to be following me because I was moving 40 minutes away, right? So of all those members, I was not just going to take half of them, right? And so I knew I was going to be starting over. And in fact,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
Started with 10 or 9. I think 9 might have been the actual number.
That's always a fear. Whereas somebody's like, I'm going to go do my own thing down the street.
Yep.
All these people are coming with me.
And they never do.
No.
They never do, right? People, they need a legit reason to change, right? And I get it. Not like I had a shitty relationship with my partner because I had a shitty relationship with him. That doesn't mean everybody else there did. I was actually very non-emotional about that part of it. I could separate the two and understand, like, look, this is going to be convenient for the people that live, right? Like, there's no reason for them to leave.
Right. Well, they are content and they are happy with their service.
Absolutely.
Right. So if they come to the gym and they see, five employees, and next time they come to the gym and they only see 4 employees because you're gone, they're still going to be relatively happy with their service, and like that's okay. Now, if it's like a personal training split,
for sure,
right,
might be a little different.
Then,
scenario,
because you have closer relationships with more people,
right? And so you got to get people into your gym. We started with 10. Those 10 people can give you word of mouth, so long as the service is good. Now, we were fortunate that our 10 were good at the service that we chose to spotlight first. Okay, so we knew from day one we were going to offer Olympic weightlifting, fitness, and a version of personal training. On day one, we did not advertise those three things. We advertised Olympic weightlifting. And the reason we did that is because, one, I knew everybody in central Indiana that was involved in weightlifting. Okay?
It's pretty easy.
Exactly. Two, I knew that if anybody were to follow me from the old gym, they would be
For weightlifting.
an Olympic weightlifter. And I figured it would probably be the good ones that were like pretty successful and that were going to be like have a little reach in the greater weightlifting community in central Indiana.
Right.
And that's what happened. So I said, look, you guys, you're going to get a discounted rate. I'm going to charge you $99 a month. You can train, we'll coach, program, all that. It was like really easy. I really wasn't counting on their revenue. And I just like thought these people need to be my 10 word of mouth referrals and then a platform for me to create content. Okay. So the next thing I did was I created a Facebook ad with a photo. Okay. Because we didn't have enough people to do video. But a photo of somebody lifting.
That photo.
And it said, for the next 2 weeks, and the next 2 weeks only, as many people as sign up, $99 a month, unlimited Olympic weightlifting training, which was pretty cheap at the time. And from there, I would say we got about another 15-ish,
10, 15.
10 to 15-ish people. So now we were at like 25 or 30 total members in the first 2 or 3 months. Now, if you get out your calculator, okay, and you have 25 members at $99 a month, you're still losing money, right? Okay, so,
Just a little bit.
right, exactly. So that was the idea, was to like get this nebulous of people into the gym that we knew where they were at. We knew that we could add value to what they were doing. All right, we knew we could help them, and then we knew we could use their story to help promote our story, which our stories are all about service for helping others. Okay, so we just rinse, washed, repeat, but did it at a higher price point. Okay, and that is exactly what we did for our first 100 members until we got to the point where we couldn't fit them in the space anymore.
Yeah.
And when we made the move to the inside space, we just followed that same process, but we did it with fitness and personal training. Now that we had the space to accommodate, and we had a little bit of that going on out in the garage, but not much.
Very small.
And
700 square feet. That's all you can do.
right, and now that's essentially what we continue to do, right? Like we want to just provide the people in our community, whether that community is local or online, as we've started to expand into much more distance coaching and things like that. But we wanted to provide them with things that add value to what they're doing. We want our training to be a huge part of their life. We don't want it to become their life, right? So and that kind of goes back to that blurred line of friend and coaching and all that shit talked about earlier, is we want to be an ancillary service to your existence. Like we want to help you reach your goal. Your goal is for you. It is not for me. My one personal my one goal is to produce an Olympian in Olympic weightlifting from Indianapolis, Indiana. Okay, now that's going to be somebody else's goal, and I'm going to help them fulfill it, and thus will have fulfilled mine. But I'm not going to get there by beating somebody over the head with it to make that their goal.
No.
Makes sense? And in fact, I'm pretty sure I've never mentioned it to anybody until now. And now it's for the world.
I mean, you said it maybe once, possibly.
I was probably drinking.
No. I don't know. But, it is for something more, right? So, it is not the end objective is exercise. It is, you're going to come in and you're going to work toward your result, right? And you're going to better your life so you can go do other great things.
For sure.
And so you can enjoy those things as well, right? And it might be just so you look better. So when you go out on the town or just around, you feel better, you look better, you just feel better about yourself. It is
Absolutely.
not to become the end game.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely not the end goal, which I think is a great perspective coming from the strength and conditioning world where, the weight room is not the end goal. It is
the field, the sport.
It is the field, the sport. It is the experience. It is the end goal.
And that is 100% a competitive advantage that I feel like we have over anybody is we come from that environment. So like no matter how well we coached people in the weight room, it had like very minimal impact. If you could say none on the outcome of the game.
You can argue none, right?
Right, you could argue none. Like you scored that touchdown, you hit that home run because you fucking did it.
Right.
Not because Dan or Dan made you do it. Right. And I was having this conversation with one of our members this morning with the muscle hamster. I was telling her, I've never done a single fucking rep for you. I can only suggest that you do something.
Right.
And it's up to you to execute.
Right. Can't make you do it.
Right. You know, this was on autonomy. But anyway, so on to service. So we basically walk people through like, okay, how'd you raise money? How'd you get people in your gym? And then there's other tactics involved. We're obviously skipping over the tactics to try to keep this thing under 4 fucking hours. But I mean, I've talked at length with gym owners about tactics to getting new people in, and I find that fascinating on another level. And by the way, I just don't believe that there's like a lot of trade secrets. I believe that it's like I could tell everybody in Central Indiana exactly what we're doing to get new members, and then they'd have to figure out how to execute within that framework to make it work for what they were doing, right?
And then just to hustle the hell out of it.
Right, and this goes, like, I have a conversation all the time with people in the area. I like some good ones. CrossFit Naptown, which is now like Naptown Swift, is what they're moving to, Naptown Fitness. So they do CrossFit. I've known these guys forever. They're right down the street. We share ideas frequently, okay? Would I say that I call them up daily? No. Do I have any problem talking to the execution of ideas with them? No, because they see things the way that we do in terms of like there's so many people to service. We're all just trying to connect the people to service, right? They don't fear us servicing more than them, right? They're not afraid they're going to go out of business if we're fighting over the same, one person and we get them and they don't believe in that bullshit. Same thing with John David Stein, not Jay Barbell. Like I tell him all the time, their barbell club is out in Avon. I tell him all the time, like, John, bring your guys over, have your guys train, let me coach your guys, let me get your guys better, and then take them back to your damn gym. Right. Because if they're better, then when they show up at the meet, the totals are going to be higher, and our people are going to push even harder, right? I always want to win.
That's part of growing.
I always want to beat you. John David Stein, don't get me wrong, I always want to beat you, but I want to beat you because you're at your best.
Right.
Not because I tore down what you were trying to build. I don't feel good about that.
This is like the competitive aspect of it.
Exactly.
Right? You're always going to try to be better than everybody.
Absolutely.
You should.
Absolutely, 100%. And like this came up I actually think I mentioned this once, but this came up at Nationals this year. We're in the back room in the 75 kilo class. Q from the Jug is in like second or third or whatever. We're sharing the platform. I like Chad. I like Max in general. I really appreciate what the Jug does as a business. I'm complimentary of them. We've been out there to the Jug and hung out. And I put a lift on the bar for Paige to make to beat them. And she missed it. And Chad came back and he was like, I was scared. And I was like, Chad, I like you. I want to fucking beat you so goddamn bad. And he was like, as it should be. Right? You know what I mean? Like, there's no like, fuck you, Dan. It's like, he gets it, right? You want to compete. You want to compete when people are at their best. Yeah. Right? And I can't stand when people are like, oh, they just want to win if they can like tear down what you did. Right? Like, you don't need to tear me down. Just build your shit up. We'll compete. That's fun. Right. Let's go. But sorry, I get distracted. But
it's like it goes back to good old Jack Burton, who commonly says like everybody wants to see you do well until you do better than them. Then all of a sudden they don't like you, right? And that's just like that's not the attitude we want to carry forward.
Dude, I like so many people. There's very few people that I dislike. There's people that have quote unquote like wronged me that I've just been like, dude, I don't really give a shit. It's not that big of a deal, right? Like, there's very few people that I dislike, and there's one person I know that I dislike, and the reason is because of like threats they made towards my family.
That's acceptable.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, okay, life's too short to be mad at a whole bunch of people. But so when we walk through people with all those like the aspects of it, and this is probably a good time for me to note that when I get a phone call or a text or an instant messenger, which is now getting harder and harder to keep up with, which is I think is a good thing as we grow. But I am absolutely flattered when people ask for my advice on them starting again. Or they're like, how do you do it? And I love businesses in general. And so I'm flattered and I'm honored by it. So we try to walk them through these phases and not to give them many answers, but just to get them to think about the things they need to think about to be successful. And so when we come to the service thing, that's always like, that's kind of like a big question mark because we charge more and on par with some of the services in the industry, right? Like it's kind of like where we feel like the market is and what people pay for a service, and we're probably positioned on the end of a little more expensive because we feel like we bring a little more to the table in terms of service, right?
Try to have like a premium facility with a premium experience.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's like I don't know how many years you have on your like service-based fitness. So like by that we mean like personal training sessions, group fitness classes, things that you teach, right? I mean obviously you folded towels, and so did I at some point. But like this is the years of experience of just having how to run a group class, how to run a personal training session, how to run a overall program, and to build that program based on service, right? And you've seen great examples, like you were talking about the Taibo lady, like the other day.
Absolutely.
Like provided great service where people flock to that service, right? Like, and they flock to that person. So this is a huge thing where if you're going to provide a premium service, you have to have time, you have to have experience knowing how to provide that service and also seeing it other places.
For sure.
Right. But it's also probably the easiest part of the whole scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, coming from Boston, where all I did was just service clients, right? Like I just showed up, and I didn't really have to recruit too much. I'd maybe assess people, try to sell them, right? That's the thing that's maybe the one thing I had to be really good at, or I had to learn. But you show up and you provide the service for their hour or for their 30 minutes or their 90 minutes, and you just focus on building that up.
For sure.
Right? And on that side, it's some days that would be the easier thing, and you might want to just go back to that, right? And just do that, because you don't have to add the other half in, right? Like the other 90% in.
So a real easy exercise for people to think about is this. And we talked about this last week because your service is not going to stay the same as you grow.
Nor should it. And it is going to piss people off that it doesn't stay the same. Okay, so when we had 3 coaches, all right, and 25 members, there's a lot of personalized one-on-one attention. However, Dan Brown was losing money at a breakneck pace, right? Nobody gives a shit about that. They just care about their service. This is the hemorrhaging.
Right, just puking money, okay? And that's part of it. And I was pretty okay with it. I had a dollar amount that was acceptable just watching whittle away to a certain degree. But at some point, that starts to catch up and you start to get more members, and you might even hit a point where we did where all of a sudden we're trying to service a shit ton of people with, we'll say 4 coaches. That's being generous because I'm not really giving a ton of my time to servicing our members because I can't, because of the 90% of the other stuff that has to handle. But a real easy example and thing to think about is if somebody came into the gym, okay, and they were to rank us on the 5 stars of Facebook, what would a 1-star service look like? What would a 2-star service look like? What would a 3-star service look like? A 4, a 5, and so on. And even beyond, right? So I gave the example in our meeting last week where I said, all right, a 1-star service is I show up for my assessment, Dan German's not there, and I have to reschedule it. Yeah, they're going to get me in, but I wasted my day. I'm pissed. I'm probably not coming back. Fuck these guys, okay? 2-star service would be Dan German was 10 minutes late.
Showed up barefoot.
Yeah, showed up barefoot, sweaty, clothes were wet from working out. Sorry, I just finished up my bro sesh. Throws his shirt on, like right in front of the member or whatever. 3-star would be, was fully clothed, greeted them, was on time, adequately took them through the assessment, planned to follow up. Okay.
Right.
4-star would be like, Dan German's waiting on them. He knows their name. He has as much of the paperwork filled out in advance as possible. He's waiting for them at the top of the stairs. They get there at the top of the stairs. He greets them, takes them down, shows them their way to the locker room, gives them a new member packet, and then adequately takes them to the assessment and follows up. Okay, then a 5-star service would be Dan German has a bottle of water, towel waiting for them, and then all that 4-star shit. Okay, and then it goes on and on and on.
Dan German sends a helicopter to my apartment.
Well, that's like 9 stars.
Takes me up with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, that's 9 stars is Dan German. 6 stars is Dan German sends an Uber to your work, picks you up at your work, brings you over to the gym, and then follows procedure, right? All the way up to like 10 stars where, Dan German meets you at the private airstrip, flies you out to meet Elon Musk. Right. Who then puts you on a fucking rocket to Mars, right, and you hang out orbit space, come back, and then adequately go through the assessment process, right? But the whole point of the exercise is to like get yourself thinking of what's a 1-star, a 2-star, a 3-star, a 4-star, and 5-star service look like, and then ask yourself, what are we providing, right? And you better have some gut checks. And some team meetings, right? Not family meetings.
Yeah.
Team meetings where it's like, look, motherfucker, you're providing 2-star service.
Right.
We're a 5-star service place. You better get your shit together or you're gone.
This is where the feelings just have to get put aside.
Fuck your feelings. I said like bad words.
I mean, you did.
But I get fired up. These are what our staff meetings go like this.
Yeah, and
and it's okay.
Right. And like I think that you and I have probably had some hard meetings in the past, right? Over the past like 3 years.
And the ones where you tell me I suck and I'm doing a terrible job.
Well, I mean, like both ways, right? But like
he's told me that. Don't laugh, Brian. He told me that last week.
You're right, I did.
And he wasn't 100% wrong. I'll say that.
But I mean, like that's just kind of like the brutal honesty that you have to have, and like. It's gonna have to, like from like a team-based aspect, right? Like you can say that, and as long as it's accurate, then like you don't have to worry so much about feelings, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if your coach brings you in and was like, "Listen, objectively, you dropped the ball that would have won us the game because you didn't take care of shit." Like you just have to be like, you know what, you're right. Right, so like, but if you're a family, then you're gonna, like number one, you're gonna try to soften the blow. You're gonna try to pull a punch. You're gonna say, "But it's okay."
Right.
We're gonna move on from this. Everything's gonna be all right.
We still love.
Guess what?
Right.
Everything's not gonna be all right if you don't fucking fix it.
Correct.
You're gonna go out of business. The doors are gonna be shut.
That is correct.
And you're gonna feel like a fucking failure.
That is
because people remember that shit.
Yep, for sure. So that's a good little exercise you can do to to figure out what kind of service you're providing, and then are you meeting the minimum pillars of success? Okay, so I mean I think I've had these conversations so many times over the last few years, and I always enjoy it, but it always comes down to the same shit, right? You got to get money, you got to create money, you got to hold on to money, right? And how do you do it? Through high quality service, through continual effort, and just doing it every day. And I think that the last piece that I will do with somebody is let's say, here we go. This is a good example. They'll be like, okay, well, what's your strategy to getting new members? All right, well, I've got a social media strategy. That's great. What's your strategy? I'm going to post 6 times a day. Okay, that's a start, right? So at least they're thinking about it, right? What's your budget?
You're doing something.
My budget's $0. Okay, so you got $0 fucking dollars. You're gonna post some shit on social media. I like it. Okay, you're gonna do 6 times a day. All right, great. Then you go and you look at their social media. Guess what they haven't done?
Posted.
They haven't posted 3 fucking days. Mm-hmm. And you're you're like, well, here's the thing, Billy Joe gym owner, I like that name. You haven't posted in 3 days. You told me you're going to post 6 times a day. You're 18 posts behind, right? And I'm really confused here because your actions are not meeting your words, right? And the one thing that we should all know from this industry, health and fitness, strength and conditioning, is that consistency and effort trumps so much shit. And sometimes even talent. Right? If you're just like consistent with your effort. So everybody that trains really hard, 6-7 days a week, eats 42 meals a week on time every 3 hours. Like they have all the tools there to be successful in business, but they're just not being consistent in their effort and what they're producing, right? And so then you start hearing shit. And they're like, well, I don't have someone, I couldn't pay these top athletes to come train at my gym. Yeah, you're damn right you couldn't. Because you didn't do things for the last 10 years that afforded you the opportunity to pay somebody to come train at your gym.
Right.
Okay? And let's understand this about that. That's influencer marketing 101. Okay? So influencer marketing is, I'm on Instagram, I'm a super smoking hot dude or a smoke show babe, and I've got abs, and I'm going to sell your fitness product. Okay? And what you're doing if you're on the gym owner side is you're paying for advertising space. You're paying for advertising space on their Instagram. All right? So you say, all right, Susie Smoke Show, I need you to post, here's what you're going to post about Lift Lab 3 times a week. I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month to do that. Hashtag Lift Lab, at Lift Lab, I got this body by Lift Lab, whatever it may be. Okay? And that is a strategy for growing businesses. And you can't, again, if you're worried about what other people are doing, you're fucking losing, right? You can't worry about like, oh, this guy can just buy athletes. Well, you know what? That guy that's buying athletes is spending his money. He's investing his resources the way that he thinks is best for him to continue to grow. Now, you can either sit back and you can bitch about it, or you can figure out what your path's going to be, right? And the other thing, influencer marketing people, I was having this conversation with my buddy that owns a brewery, talking about craft beer, right? I love this analogy.
Craft brews.
He was like, okay, we do these like really high-end craft beer that only like a few people will get, right? And he's like, so we try to do this like super fancy craft brew beer, like nutty unfolding flower palette
This is the
beer,
wine.
right? This is the beer.
This is the dark wine
And-
beer for the century.
Exactly. And so they target this group of foodies that are influencers on Instagram or whatever, and they give them this damn beer for free, and they love it, and they drink it up, and they post about it on Instagram. And then as soon as something a little bit better comes along, they fucking shit on the beer you gave them. Right? They are
Gone.
fiercely
Done.
disloyal.
Done.
Right? And so you'll see that happen. You'll see that happen with influencer marketing, with Instagram pages, with athletes even, where like you give them something of high quality. And as soon as and my friend that also owns a brewery, he's also an attorney, and he always talks about like in negotiations, as soon as you give on a point, the person that just got that point or like that thing that you're arguing over immediately devalues it. Right? So if you're going through a divorce and you give them the house, well, yeah, so what? You gave me the house. Now I want the car, right? Like they automatically devalue what you gave them, and they're just like they're a small percentage of the population, and they might be really finicky. And it's not. I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in influencer marketing or sponsor athletes or things like that. You should. You just have to know sometimes of what you're getting. You're renting space.
And it's not going to work out long term.
The time is limited, exactly.
Like take advantage now because it's not going to be forever.
For sure. And very few things are. But like your likelihood of a long-lasting relationship from somebody that you like cultivate or homegrown is much greater than somebody that you attract with money. And again, I don't think the strategy is bad. I think the strategy works for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that made a lot of money off of it, but you just have to understand every single business and every single business model is different. It doesn't make it good or bad, it's just different. And do you know what? Like, so our gym looks the farthest thing from a global gym could possibly be, right? We're at a minimum. It's $130 to train. Okay, at the very minimum. Okay, Planet Fitness down the road is at the maximum $9 a month to train, right? Do you know what? They have like the lunk alarm, the whole thing. We all know, right? Do you know what I would do if I went into Planet Fitness?
You drop shit everywhere.
No, I follow fucking rules, right? Because that's their gym and that's their culture, right? And I understand it, right? They're marketing and gearing their business towards dudes that can't pay more than $9 a month, and to people that are intimidated by Goombas.
You'd be on the yes/no machine.
Yeah,
all the time.
I probably would drop shit just because I'm dumb, but whatever. But my point is that's the Planet Fitness business model. Ours is over here on the other end of the spectrum, and then yours might be somewhere in between. And my point is that there's no one way, and it's just how it fits and how you want to be successful. And then our whole thing is we just try to help people do that.
Yeah, and kind of like a small rewind back to your point, right? You just have to focus on what you can do and focus on what you're doing. And when you start being really all into what you're doing and you start showing that and you start sharing that with people and you realize how special that is, that's the thing you have to take off on, right? It's
For sure.
If you only sit there and you worry about, somebody asks me, oh, did you see so-and-so's Insta story? Oh, did you see so-and-so's post today? Did you see this, that, or the other? It's no, I didn't. I was fucking working on the things that I'm doing.
I was trying to grow my shit.
Right. It's I was over here doing me, as they say.
Oh yeah.
Right. And focusing on what I can do to make the place better and to make somebody's experience better, make somebody's day better.
Absolutely.
And when you start just focusing on that, all of a sudden things are going to take off.
For sure. Do what you can do.
That's it.
And that's it. And the Instagram thing it's pretty neat and it's pretty cool how much it's taken off.
Yeah, it's cool.
But you know what? That shit can be gone tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just can, right? Remember MySpace, Friendster, Napster.
Tom used to have all his friends. Now he doesn't.
Nope. No. So, all right. Well, we hope we added a little bit to your business palette in terms of your strength in executing on what your strengths are. We just try to do what we feel like we can do best, and the thing that is unique about Live Lab is we are learning every single day and pushing every single day to be the best that we can possibly be. And we measure our success, right? We don't let other people tell us we're good or bad or whatever. We measure it. So do your best. If you have questions and want to talk about your fitness business or want to continue the questions and answers maybe on your podcast, we would love to entertain those things. We have tons of tactics on the business side of things that we didn't get into. That's at least 3 hours of podcasting, but it's been fun. It's been real, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Peace out. Boom.